Good morning. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Monday, the 20th of April. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, and I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right. Well, first thing to mention is I've done a post this morning. It's called Schrodinger's Strait, and I'm exploring a bit the complete fog of confusion happening about the Iran war here, and how it's very hard to be even any degree of certainty about pretty much anything that's happening in it. It's one thing I do know is that most of this big rally here has been based on the expectation and the hope that the Iran war is about to end, and if it doesn't end, the result is likely to be brutal, both in terms of oil going up and in terms of equities going down. And also, as I mentioned in my posts every so often over the last few weeks, this is, if the war continues and it escalates, this could set up a major economic crisis, with oil over $200 a barrel, and major issues, drops in growth, and major supply chain issues across the world. We will see how it develops, but I'm not sure I did much in the post apart from clarified quite how much confusion there is. But hopefully over the next few days we will start getting some clarity, and hopefully there will be a peace, because really, if there isn't peace, it's likely to be a major disaster which will touch everybody. In terms of ES, it's not a lot to see in terms of the divergence or a pattern. We've got an IHS which broke up and it made target. All of the bottoming patterns have now made target. NQ, we've still got a 60-minute sell signal, which against all odds survived last week. That could play out here. We opened up down about 60 last night. We've recovered a lot of that, and honestly, I'm not sure why. But I think, have there been any talks in the meantime? No. They're scheduled for tonight. Are there promising noises about the end of the war? Well, there have been promising noises about the end of the war pretty much three times a day for the last 6 weeks. So what do these promising noises mean? Do they mean anything? Anyway, I was asking more questions than giving answers in my post this morning. But as I said, if the Iran war escalates, if we start seeing the strait stays closed, if the Bab el-Mandab the other main strait gets closed as well, and the war escalates, and Trump fulfills his dream of taking out loads of civilian targets in Iran, things are going to get ugly. And really at that stage, I'm thinking a 20% decline on equities might be the minimum we'd be looking forward to. We shall see. All right. So we still got a 6-minute sell signal in Q, although that's mainly remarkable because it survived the reaping last week. Nice looking double bottom on Dyer that made target 2. On RTY. We've made new all-time highs on ES, on QQQ, on IWM. But we're still short of it, significantly short of it on YM. And I've got to say, we're kind of in between. We haven't gone high enough to make a double top, but we've gone high enough to put the possible head and shoulders that was forming into question. But if it fell directly from here, it would be a head and shoulders. Anyway, I pulled out some targets for if we do see another breakdown in my post this morning. Looking at DAX, we've got a nice looking rising wedge. So not sure how much to read into that, but it is a nice looking rising wedge. So ESTX, we don't have a nice looking rising wedge, but we've got a decent looking support trend line. We will see how that goes. And Nikkei, we made the IHS target and we made the new all-time high, and we've got potentially a beautiful double top, even better than the ones we've got on SPX, Qs, and IWM now. We will see, but those double tops are going to be the model for where we go to next if there isn't a peace agreement, which who the hell knows. All right. In terms of where we are on ES, obviously we made a new all-time high. Obviously, this is a potential double top, and obviously, basically the RSI 5's over 90 on SPX, where at the stage where we can set up negative divergence. But of course, if the war well, if the peace talks collapse, then I'm not sure we're going to have time to set up another divergence. We will see. As it is, we've gone so high here. This is the highest you can see on this chart on the daily. We've gone so high here that you quite often see a rejection straight from here. And actually, that's exactly what you saw here and here. So not convinced we're going to see any negative divergence here, but we might. We shall see. Obviously, this would be a substantial double top. In terms of the hourly chart, not a lot to see. Bit of negative divergence on the RSI 5. 15-minute, we've got some RSI 14 sell signals. I've been looking to see whether we've got any decent looking patterns from the low. At the moment, the answer is no, we don't. So we will see how this develops, and I'll be continuing to look at that, but we'll see. All right, Qs, obviously we made the IHS target there. We've made new all-time highs. This is a potential level top. We've actually managed to get up to about 95 on the daily RSI 5 here, which is impressive and rare. That is the highest on this chart. Again, we didn't get negative divergence when we fell from this high or this high, which were these two previous highs over 90. But we may well not see that here. On the hourly chart, we got some negative divergence on the Qs. On the 15-minute chart, we got some RSI 14 sell signal. And again, we don't have a decent looking trend line. I have drawn in a couple, which I was wondering if they would be reached, but they have not been reached. Looking at Dia, as I said, now that we've gone over this sort of 485 to 490 area, this is not looking like a double top yet, and it's no longer looking like a decent looking head and shoulders. So that's kind of in a confused area there. We've almost reached the 90 area, even though this has been the weakest on the daily RSI 5. No current negative divergence. On the hourly chart, no negative divergence. On the 15-minute chart, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal. That might deliver something, but I've drawn in the obvious trend line here, and it hasn't reached it. All right, let's have a look at IWM. IWM, we have a retest of the high, nice looking potential overall double top. No divergence on the hourly chart. Weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed on the 15-minute chart. Here, we actually reached the trend line and have gone over it slightly, and I don't really have a decent replacement. Although, hang on, bear with me a second. I'm pretty sure I looked at this over the weekend, but let's just check. And yeah, this would be the alternative trend line, and there we would be slightly over it. So I am wondering whether that might be it, but we're not seeing the clean reversal at the trend line, which is what I look for to, well, confirm the trend line. So we will see how that goes, but I don't have any really decent patterns from any of these from the low, which is suggesting they may well have further to go on the upside. All right, looking at DAX, wondering about a possible retest of the high, but obviously that'll be off the table if the peace talks collapse. Nikkei, we have a very nice looking retest of the high, and this is a beautiful potential double top. Given that given that Japan will be particularly affected in the event there is a major oil disruption, I'd be looking in the event the peace talks fail and the war escalates for this to make target and then some in all probability. All right, great. Let's have a look at. We're going to have a very quick look at Boeing because Doug was asking. So let's have a quick look at that. All right. Basically, this looks like a triangle forming up on Boeing. This is the one on the log chart. Sorry, on the log chart, but this is the main one I'm watching on the analog chart. Now here, it's a bit of a messy triangle, but I think sooner or later this could break up or it could break down. My lean would be this is probably going to be bearish, just because it's coming off a downtrend. So we will see, but we're obviously in a long period of consolidation, which has actually now lasted 6 years. Now that is a long consolidation. We are towards the higher end of that. We're testing the weekly middle band as resistance. We could see a fail right here, but I'm not seeing any negative divergence on the daily chart. We're back over the 200 DMA, and I'm not seeing any divergence really on the hourly chart. Let me have a quick draw. Bear with me a moment. And do we have an obvious pattern forming here on the hourly chart from the last low? So bear with me. I've got to go with no. We've got no real anchor here, but if we did see a breakdown from here, then that would look like a rising wedge which is starting to break down, although it's not got the clean trend line suggesting that this is one that you could really rely upon. So at the moment we've been in a very long consolidation. We are still in that consolidation and haven't broken out of it. I've got to say, just from what I've been reading in terms of international sales and so on, and certainly with the problems between the US and Europe and the problems that Boeing has been having, I'm a little doubtful about this having a big break to the upside, is all I would say. All right, great. Let's have a look at the DX chart. Now, DX has been going up a bit because obviously the war peace talks have been deteriorating. So if there have been any peace talks, which frankly isn't clear either, but the US have seized an Iranian ship. The Iranians have currently closed the Strait of Hormuz again. Obviously, things are not going particularly well. We shall see how this develops from here. But if the war gets back on, which I'm really hoping it doesn't, because I like watching declines, and the excitement is nice, and you get some great patterns out of it, and it's great and it's fun. But the fact is, I don't think this is a crisis that anyone in their right mind would want. This is a major, major crisis, which supply crisis, kind of like a man-made COVID, really. Although obviously, COVID could have been man-made. I don't think we really want to go there, but I think we might be going there anyway. If we are, then I'm expecting the dollar to go quite a lot higher. I'm not seeing an awful lot really on the others. USD hasn't quite made it to the IHS target. GBP USD, we got a little double top breaking down here. Mainly, USD JPY, this could be a head and shoulders forming, but it looks more like a bull flag forming. And likely this is going to break up towards a retest of that high in the 162 area. Canadian dollar has actually been weaker than I would have expected here, but again, I'm wondering about a flag here, although it's really at the limit of as far as it would go down, and I would still consider it a flag. So if it's going to break up, then it really needs to do so shortly. Right, looking at bonds. Bonds went down a bit with the trouble over the weekend in the Strait and so on. So we're recovering a bit from that here, but this is an obvious point of failure at the monthly pivot. We've made all the buy signal targets on the and the sell signal target on the on TLT daily RSI 5, and the buy signals on the TYX and daily and TYX and TNX daily RSI 5s as well. All of those are out of play, and if we're going to see the war resume, then I would expect to see the downtrend resume on bonds. On ZN, this looks like a bear flag wedge. A pretty decent one, and that's probably because that's what it is. On CL, we obviously dropped an awful lot on Friday, and some very well-informed person made $700 million on oil shorts Friday morning, having put the bet on 20 minutes before Trump made his announcement on Truth Social. Not suspicious in the slightest, but all right. So anyway, that dropped really 10 or $15 and has retraced most of it already. This looks like a little bull flag. I think the next move on oil is likely up. We've been seeing a bit of a rally on ES overnight. I'm leaning to, unless we start seeing some good news, really, I'm expecting to see some downside. If we start seeing some significantly bad news, then that could develop into a lot of downside. CL, we made it all the way down under 80, which frankly I thought was a major overreaction, because even if the war does end, I think it might well stay over 80 for most of the time for the next 6 months to a year. We shall see how that goes. This kind of looks like a bull flag forming, and the next obvious move currently is up. HO has taken back a lot of Friday's decline. RBOB, the same. Could have a head and shoulders forming here, but it could be a bullish triangle forming on RBOB. On HO, again, this could be a bull flag, or it could be a head and shoulders which is already broken down. But the effect is much the same if the head and shoulders fails and it heads higher into a high retest. Looking at NG. NG, we're seeing the seeds of a possible rise here. I'm wondering about a possible backtest of Well, 2.9, 2.95, maybe 3. I'm not sure the monthly pivot really matters at this stage because I'm not sure it'll be the monthly pivot by the time that NG actually reaches it. In terms of GC, we had a bit of a reaction downwards on the news over the weekend. Overall, I really like the bull flag setup on the precious metals. I like it a lot. I am still wondering about a possible retest of the low. This could be a little level top here. That's a pretty decent looking flag on SI. It's an okay looking flag on palladium. There's a pretty decent looking flag on platinum. I am wondering about possible low retests, possibly as the Iran war gets started again. HG, we've gone higher. I'm wondering about a possible retest of this high. So because we've come back 2/3 of the way already, I'm wondering whether it can make the rest of the way. In terms of KC, still looks like a bear flag. Probably going to see some more downside soon. SB, watching this declining resistance trend line closely, but I'm also still expecting to see a retest of this low, which has not quite been retested. CC, this looks like a perfect bear flag channel. So we're holding support of the monthly pivot so far, but my lean would be this is likely to break down and retest this low. On CT, we've broken up for a large double bottom, and I'm expecting to see more upside, but it's looking pretty overbought short term, particularly on the daily chart, and I'm leaning towards seeing some retracement. So we could be topping out in the short term. Lumber, I'm wondering about a resumption of the overall downtrend. Wheat, we've got an IHS which is broken up and hasn't quite made target as it failed at the monthly pivot so far. I would like to see, and I think we may well see, wheat and corn start making tracks to the upside on the basis of the disruption which has already been caused by the fertilizer shortages because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. We shall see. Here we got a lovely big double bottom here that you can't see on this chart. ZS, we could be forming the IHS right shoulder, and it wouldn't be a bad one. We've got big upside bullish patterns on all of cotton, wheat, corn, and soy. And I'm thinking cotton one's broken up. I'm thinking all three of the others may break up soon too. ZL leaning towards seeing a retest of the high. Live cattle, bit of a retracement here, but nothing to disrupt the overall uptrend. HE, I was showing this on the chart on the webinar last night, and saying we're now at the 61.8% retracement of the big move up. If this is a flag, I'd really like to see it not go any lower than this. But at the moment, it's deciding whether it is still a flag. I'd like to see this resume the uptrend, but obviously it's possible it's going to go the other way. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at questions. Yep. Okay, my pleasure as always, mate. No other questions, so I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.